Hi and welcome to Sacred Spaces. I'm Laura Kelly and today we're here with Tony Arnell. He's Victoria's Building Commissioner. He's also the Chair of the World Green Building Council. Now, his favourite space in Melbourne at the moment is the Pixel Building. Tony, can you tell us what this building behind us, why is it so important to you?
Well, Laura, this is one of Australia's newest and most important new buildings because it in fact is the greenest building in the country at the moment. It actually not only manufactures all its own electricity and water, but it also returns it to the grid as well.
Tony, with your focus on sustainability and innovation in Australian building, we're obviously going to have a look at some pretty exciting features of this building. But to start with, on the exterior, there's a lot of coloured panels. What's that all about?
Well, obviously they have a lot of visual impact and aesthetic appeal, Laura, but they also have a very practical design purpose as well, in that they control the amount of daylight that comes into the various commercial spaces. So that has a very direct impact on the amount of energy that's actually used in the building.
Well, let's go and have a look at what else the Pixel Building has to offer.
Let's go and have a look at this fantastic new building.
Great. So, Tony, we're starting up here on the roof of the Pixel Building. Can you tell me a little bit about the features that are here on the roof that actually make this a carbon positive building?
Well, Laura, this is really the powerhouse of the Pixel Building. Behind us we've got the wind turbines and the solar panels, which provide all of the electricity to service the Pixel Building. And as I've said, the scenario is that over time the energy supply that is provided by both the wind turbines and the solar will be more than is required by this building, and the actual balance of it will be returned to the grid, which makes it a carbon positive building.
Now, how about things like air conditioning and cooling within the building? Does that come from things like the solar panels and the wind turbines?
It's actually also provided by the biomass collector that's in the basement of the building. What we actually have is really three sources of electricity supply: the wind turbines, the solar panels, and also the biomass, which is actually from the Blackwater. So in terms of the water saving initiatives that are in the building, there is a grey water system and a black water system. The black water from the toilet and also from the kitchen goes to a biomass which produces methane, and that methane then provides the energy for the hot water service up here on the roof, and that is then used through the building and also for heating and cooling as well.
So in terms of water usage in this building, the roof plays a part in collecting water, doesn't it?
Well, there are three really important ways of achieving water efficiency in this building. One is the roof and the rainwater harvesting that is able to be achieved on the roof of the building here. The second is the black water system, which saves the water that is from the toilet and also from the kitchen system. And the third is the grey water system as well, which provides a potable water supply for drinking after it's been processed. So the combination of the rainwater harvesting, the black water and the grey water means that this Pixel Building here in Carlton is one of Australia's most water efficient buildings going around.
And with the grey water system, in terms of purifying that water, do these plants up on the roof have a part to play?
They have a really important part to play, Laura, because they provide a filtration mechanism for the grey water. So when it rains, as it may well today, the water actually is provided through the filtration into the rainwater collection tanks, and also the grey water supply is also filtered through this reeded bed system here on the roof.
So we're still here up on the roof, and one of the things about the Pixel Building is its use of innovative new technologies. What is this technology here behind us, Tony?
Well, these are gas-fired absorption chillers, and one of the features obviously about the Pixel Building is that it is a very energy efficient building, and this technology really provides the outcome where the heating and cooling in the building is much less reliant on electricity, and the fact that these gas-fired absorption chillers are so high technology and such an emerging technology, that gives the Pixel building a huge advantage in terms of energy saving.
Now, without getting too technical, how do these chillers work?
Well, these are gas-fired, and they actually are an imported technology. And one of the important things about a building like this, that it actually is demonstrating the use of new technologies, and what that then does is provide confidence to the industry that these are a practical example of the sorts of things that can be put into other buildings. And that's why a leadership position by the Pixel building is really important in terms of getting other buildings to use similar sorts of technologies and get obviously the advantages of energy saving into mainstream type buildings.
So Tony, one of the emerging trends that we're hearing a little bit about is green roofs on office buildings and in the city. But what does that really mean, and is it a factor here?
Well, around the world there's a lot more discussion and investment in what we call green roofs. And there are some very practical advantages in commercial buildings to have green roofs, such as obviously being able to harvest rainwater, and also to get the better thermal insulation and therefore save energy as well. But it has another really important outcome, and that actually provides some really good spaces for office workers as well. So there's the water saving, the energy efficiency, but also fantastic outdoor spaces. And around Melbourne there are just so many roofs that have this potential, and it's good to see that we're seeing a lot more building owners and building developers invest in these green roofs and provide the energy outcomes, but also the outcomes for office workers as well.
Do you think that with a building like this particularly leading the way, that it could become more and more of an emerging trend, that more office buildings around the city would take this on?
Well, the more practical examples we get, like we have here at Pixel, the more other building owners are going to say, well, look, this is achievable, it does have a bottom line to it, it saves water, saves energy, provides good space for workers. So it actually starts to become a mainstream discussion where people will want to invest in this sort of outcome.
Great. Well, we're up on the roof here, so let's head downstairs, get inside the building and see what it's like.
Let's have a look inside.
So we're actually inside the Pixel building now. We can see the coloured pixels behind us. In terms of the actual construction of this building, can you tell us a bit about what's unique about that?
Well, one of the really unique features of the building, Laura, is the use of low carbon materials. And the concrete that's actually used in this building is actually called Pixelcrete, which is a very interesting name. But what it actually is designed to do is to achieve very low carbon outcomes in terms of the actual construction in its own right. So the concrete used here is low carbon to the extent that it uses low carbon cement, and it also uses recycled aggregates and also reclaimed aggregates. So the actual concrete that's being used in the building has the net effect of being much more energy efficient in its own right.
Great, so that sort of means all of the measures and technologies in place to assist with energy production, there's initially less energy to offset with the building of it. Correct.
One of the really important issues in terms of building construction is not just the operational energy use, but also the embodied energy in a building that is actually required to build it in the first place. And cement is one of the most intensive carbon materials in the world, so it being an obvious ingredient of concrete, if you can reduce the carbon concentration of concrete, then the embodied energy of the building is going to be much reduced as well.
Now, in terms of this building, this is going to become an office building. It's not fitted out yet, but with the internal environment, what's happening in here that makes it unique?
Well, as I said, one of the focuses of the building has been to concentrate on the use of materials to get good outcomes in that particular area. And in this space where ultimately it will be an office building, there has been the use of low toxic materials, so the paint, the carpet that's being used is designed to reduce the amount of what we call off-gassing, which has the effect of improving air quality. And improved air quality means a better indoor environment for people that work in the building, and that ultimately means better productivity in a commercial office space as well.
And in terms of air quality as well, is there fresh air coming into this building? Is it all recycled aircon, or how does it work?
Well, we're currently standing on a floor which is in fact slightly elevated, so underneath us we have in fact what we call a displacement floor ventilation system, which brings in a mixture of fresh air but also the air conditioning air to provide the right level of heating or cooling, whatever is required. So it is a mix of the fresh air from the outside but also the air conditioned air to get that right temperature control, but with the emphasis on making sure that the air quality in an overall sense is of the highest outcome.
Fantastic. So in terms of the Pixel building itself, and as the building commissioner, is this a building that you hope will inspire other people to move in this direction?
Well, as I said at the start, this is a fantastic outcome for Australia in that it is Australia's greenest building. And what we hope in terms of seeing this building as an example of green buildings, that others will follow suit. We've seen over the last 5 or 6 years many very fine examples around Australia, but also particularly here in Melbourne, of green buildings where people have started to understand what can be achieved, and for a bottom line as well, because I mean all these things have a price, but one of the important outcomes about a demonstration project like this is that they are very well documented in terms of the cost of building, and once people see what the return on investment is in terms of productivity, in terms of better indoor environments, we hope that these sorts of buildings actually become mainstream.
Well, Tony, thanks so much for joining us and showing us your sacred space. This is an amazing place, and I certainly do hope it's a building of the future.
Well, it's been a pleasure to talk about Australia's greenest building.